Welcome to our special members only webinar today. Hope you're having a great week so far. So we've got a lot to cover in this 30-minute webinar. This is about EIDL loans, how to lower payments. So that's what most of you are interested in. So we're going to go step by step how exactly you can lower EIDL loans. If you haven't done it yet, I'll answer a few other EIDL questions that I know are going to pop up. And here's the agenda. So while others join in, again, huge thank you to all of you who've showed up. If you want to ask questions here in the comments, please do. And we'll get to questions at the end. So first, we're going to do brief intros here. Then I'll talk about lowering EIDL payments, how to do that. We're going to put up a poll in a minute, and we're going to ask, do you have an EIDL loan under 200K, over 200K, or you don't have an EIDL loan? So that poll will be up so we know what to speak to in this webinar. Then I'll talk about how to prepare for other funding. So beyond EIDL, there's a ton of great government programs now. Many of you know, many of you work with us since you're all members. Some of you work with us one-on-one directly. I'll talk about this SSBCI, a few tips there. There's some news, then some extra resources with Jules, and then Q&A. So again, if you have questions, please drop them in. So we've got the poll up. Before we get started, I just want to loop in Greg and Jules here. We'll do this view right here. So afternoon, Greg. Afternoon, Jules.
Afternoon.
Hey, how's it going?
Going well. And so for everyone who's tuned in now, just want to introduce you to some of the Skip team. Again, many of you may have talked with Greg or Jules before, but Greg's our chief of staff. So basically, you know who to, if you ever have questions outside of this webinar, you know who to go to. So either me or Greg or Jules is our head of memberships. So just always want you to know that we're here to help you and your business get funding, answer questions. And so now you know at least 3 of us that you've met, and a lot of you work with our amazing team as well. So Greg and Jules, we'll bring you back on for Q&A in a few minutes.
All right. See you then.
Sounds great.
Right. We'll see you then. So I want to start today by going through EIDL repayment. So I'm seeing a lot of you submitted questions prior to this webinar that you have under 200K, over 200K. So first, housekeeping is in the description of this video. We have step-by-step links of everything I'm going to talk about. And if you need to leave early for whatever reason, this will be on your dashboard and on the app as well. You will have access to this video. So it's all recorded, so don't worry if you miss something that I say. I'll try to repeat myself and be clear. I want to first start with lowering EIDL payments if your loan is under 200K. Then I'll get to over 200K. Both are fairly simple. Now, there's a simple reason why I'm advocating for this today. First of all, I've heard from the SBA, a lot of people are taking advantage of this. Second, most people have already had at least their first payments due. And third, it makes a lot of sense for cash flow. Even though this is temporary 6-month relief, the SBA said they can work with you to extend it on a case-by-case basis. And so if you could, so 2 examples, if you have a loan of $1 million, your monthly payment's about $5,000 per month. You could lower that to 500, 10% of that, 500 per month. Or if you have 2 million, again, your payment would be 10,000 a month. You could lower that to, if I'm doing the math right in my head, yeah, you could lower that to 1,000 a month. Or if you have 200,000, you can do the math. So these are substantial ways to lower payments, especially if you're in a cash flow crunch right now. So this is what the SBA launched 2 months ago, and they've made some changes since I had the SBA director on, one of the SBA directors on live when they launched lending.sba.gov. Had him on live I want to show you a few new things. So if you have a loan under $200,000 and your first payment is due within the next 60 days, when you go to lending.sba.gov, you'll log in, you'll see manage your loans, click manage loans, and you'll see the dashboard. I'll just go through a couple things right now. So you'll see, let me go here first. So you'll see your types of loans. Here we go. This is the main screen you'll land on. You'll see if you have PPP or EIDL, you'll see your types of loans. Now on this main screen, if you're under 200,000, you should see an alert that says enroll in economic hardship plan. If you don't see it on this screen, let me remove this banner here. If you don't see it on this screen, you will see it on this, which screen? This payments screen. You'll see it here. So, and you just enroll in, it's basically one click. And so if you're seeing that, would love to hear in the comments. If you haven't seen it, let me know. There's two things you can do if you haven't seen it. One is email the SBA. I'll pull up that email in a second. There's a phone number here when you log in, 833-572-0502. There's also this help box here as well on the lower right-hand corner. So there's lots of options. Take a look at this example right here, if you can follow my mouse. So you see that in this example that we pulled, the original payments were $4,900. That was the original payments. Now, after enrolling in the hardship accommodation plan, the payments, at least for the next 6 months, again, this will likely be extended on a case-by-case basis. The new payment amount's $490. So this person has just freed up $4,000 plus per month that you may use for other debt servicing, other working capital. I know a lot of you are facing a crunch when it comes to capital now. And thanks, Alex. I'll get to some of the questions too, but please put them in. We'll get to them. So Carolyn Crisp asked, I'll just answer this now. Can I explain the balloon payment at the end? So it's a good question. So basically it means that since these loans are due in 2050, if you originate in 2020, that in 2050 or 2051, 30 years, you will basically, the lower payment you did now. So in this example here, there's 4,000 times 6, which is 24,000. That 24,000 that you didn't pay for these 6 months will be put on to the end in 30 years from now, more or less. And so your payments will be higher. In 2050, you may have 6 months of paying $9,000, $10,000 a month. So you got time to think about that. But Carolyn, I can get into that more if you have questions. But that's just generally how it works. In 2050, you'll have to pay more. Okay, so this is on the dashboard for anyone under 200K. This is what you'll see. It's very easy to do. They have a good flow when it comes to resetting your password if you're stuck there. Lending.sba.gov. Log in there. You can do it very quickly. Again, if your payment is already due or due within 60 days. Now, this is brand new. The SBA just released this, this interest and payoff. So for you to keep in mind that interest is always accruing, that if you do get a windfall in your business and you want to pay down more of the principal, not a bad idea. Obviously depends on your other priorities, things like that. But you can see, for example, your current year interest paid, $19,000 outstanding interest. So just to be mindful that interest is accruing. These aren't zero interest loans. These are 3.75% interest loans over 30 years. So if there's any questions on the 200K, I'm not sure the poll results we have. Maybe Greg, you can jot down the poll results, who's under, who's over, who's EIDL. So that's number one. Well, let me answer one more question from Christopher Peterkin here. Over 200K, is it wise to get more funding while paying EIDL back? You know, depends on your situation, of course, but it's a lot of people are doing that. A lot of people that we are working with are getting additional funding at pretty good terms. There's private options, there's SSBCI, there's SBA 7A. So obviously, if you want to grow your business or you need capital, it's something that you should seriously consider. If you always want, many of you are members and you have client success managers you're working with. But if you're not, you can always work with us directly, and Jules can say more about that in a bit. One other question before I talk about over 200K is this one right here. Are you allowed to make principal payments only at any time, or do they apply to interest only? So basically, it's a great question. It's kind of, you will need to pay off the accrued interest no matter what. So the accrued interest up until that point. So I'm not sure I'll give the most articulate answer, but basically you make one payment, that's it. And the SBA figures out, okay, this is going towards interest, the outstanding interest. Let me see if I pull that up here. So here we go. Outstanding interest here, you can see in this example, $30,000. So you'd be paying that down first. You can also see the daily interest accrual. And so, all right. And Ron, thanks for the question, Ron. So hopefully that, if you have any follow-up questions for any of these, there's a link in the description to contact us. By the way, I've got a special announcement at the end as well since all of you are members. I've got a special announcement. Okay. So the results are in. 30 votes, 60% of you say you have over 200K. Okay, so I'm shifting gears there now. 36 under 200K, and 3% don't have an EIDL. So we'll talk about SSBCI, other funding to keep in mind. I think I saw one more question before we go here to the application for hardship accommodation, which is fairly straightforward. Okay. What if you have multiple EIDL loans? Can you claim hardship on all some? Everything that I've heard from the SBA director is the answer is yes. But if your EIDL loans are over 200K, there's a loan officer. I'll show you this exact communication here. Who's reviewing your request. So let me go through this question now and I'll show you. But in theory, you could do this for all of your businesses. They call it hardship accommodation. What does that mean? It's a little blurry here. This link is in the blog post in the description. So you put down your borrower name, your SBA loan number. Your SBA loan number can be found on your portal here, by the way. So 4 is basically your quick pitch. It can be very simple. But you need to put down, is your business currently operational, permanently closed, temporarily closed? So provide a detailed description of the need for hardship accommodation. Now, many of you, if you are cash flow negative now, that's fairly easy to explain that. You know, in 2022, we lost $50,000, $100,000. Whatever you lost in 2022, explain that. Your cash flow situation makes it difficult for you to make your $1,000 payments, $5,000. Sorry, in this case, we're over $500,000, so 200. Whatever payment it is, explaining your cash flow situation, because they will ask for a P&L. You may want to send that in. So just explain that. Obviously, if you are making money hand over fist right now, can you still ask for this? Certainly. It can't hurt to say that you're still having a difficult time making X, Y, or Z, right? And it would be helpful to defer payments, because again, none of this is eliminating the debt. You're still going to pay them back by this, but it gives you some breathing room. If what you need is breathing room for the next 6 months, so you could work with our team to get your business plan, projections, P&L ready to go after other funding or to grow your business. So that's why a lot of folks that we're working with are doing this now, saying, look, 6 months will buy me a lot. If I can save 10K, 20K, 30K over the next 6 months and worry about making this balloon payment in 2050, 2051, it's a long time away. a lot of you are choosing to do that. So that's the description. If any of you are, let's say you're working with us one-on-one, you want a second opinion on these, or you want us to help you with this, that's an option. So especially for our VIP and higher members. So then they'll want to see owners in here. They say where to send this to. You can see the link here. The link is in the description as well. And also in the blog post, there's another link. Let me just tell you what that is. The link is, you can also email disastercustomerservice@sba.gov for that. And so then you need to put down signatures. So fairly straightforward. So here's the exact email that was sent in to someone who was approved very quickly. So take note here, subject, hardship accommodation plan. Dear SBA, please find attached hardship accommodation request document and our year-to-date profit and loss statement. So they're asking for that. If you use QuickBooks, you can pull the profit and loss from January 1st to March 28th, 29th. And right, ideally, it's showing that you're losing money. Even if you're making money, it's showing a thin margin. So your justification is your margin's thin. You really need this. We're in a recession. I mean, there's a dozen reasons why this would benefit the majority of business owners out there. And so you can see here, there's two attachments. One is the profit and loss year to date. And then the second is this form, this application for hardship accommodation. And this form is in the description. Okay, so this email is sent in this case, it was sent to disastercustomerservice@sba.gov, literally like this. A week later, so the good news is here, the turnaround is quicker than, let's say, EIDL was originally. So a week later, this loan assistant, Heavenly Gaines, I redacted her information here. Good morning. Please see attached and respond accordingly as soon as possible. So this is the typical response that always happens, which is basically you need to agree to this. Let me zoom in and read it to you here. If you can all see this, then I'll answer a few more questions. So put them in here. So this is for over 200K. For those of you who've tuned in late. So we're at point 2 here. Okay. So thank you for your inquiry. Please do not make reduced payments until you receive approval of your hardship accommodation request. So point number 1 says you're eligible. You are eligible for this reduced monthly payments. It's the fine print here. 2, if the 10% calculation is less than 25, a minimum monthly payment of 25 will apply. So you can't go less than $25 per month, whatever your loan is. During the 6-month period, you can make higher payments if you want. Probably most of you won't do that because you're asking for this so you can free up cash. 4, the payments must be made through your borrower account, the My SBA loan portal, which I just shared at the beginning. This is at lending.sba.gov. You can log in. If you forget your password, they'll email you, they'll text you. So you should all be able to log in there fairly easily. 5th point here, the reduction will create a balloon payment that we had asked here in the comments that will be due at the end of the loan term. So we're talking 2050, 2051, 2052. So we will be here then. Many of you will still be members, I hope. Okay. Interest will continue to accrue normally during this period. No other alternative payment is available at this time. That's not what we heard, is that if you're still in a tough situation 6 months from now, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, reach back out to the SBA, because the SBA's perspective is they want to help you and they want to work with you. And so they don't want you to default on these loans. So even if you're making minimum payments, that's better than no payments. That's their perspective. If you're out of business, that's not good for anyone. So they'd rather have you on a payment plan. Just like a lot of you who have brick and mortar stores, maybe you've been on payment plans with your whoever you're leasing your storefront from, or your property, your apartment, whatever the case may be. You're Your regular payment will resume at the end of the 6-month period again, but if you're still in a tough spot, well, I'll do another webinar then. Certainly you can likely keep it lower. Okay, so the thing you need to do is then reply to this email, in this case, whoever you have, agreed. And that's it. And then you'll see it reflected on your dashboard. So in this example, you'll see that they've adjusted it here on their internal system. Amount due $490, April 8th, instead of $4,900. So I'm going to answer a few questions here on this. Anything that's not clear, please chime in. Then I'll get to SSBCI and some other funding. I'll loop in Greg and Jules for that as well. So, here we go. Ron asks, where's the hardship application on the SBA portal? So if you're under 200K, I forget if you said if you were or not, you should see it here either on the main screen or when you go into make a payments. If you don't see it here, it's because there's two reasons. One is, well, three. One is there's a bug. The SBA made a mistake. Two is your payment's not due for over 60 days, so you won't see it. The third option is you could also fill out this form as well, and send this in. Now, they don't want this for people under 200, mainly to cut down on paperwork. But if you don't see it on your portal, this is also an option to do this form. Okay. Can we still get an increase on EIDL loan? The answer is no. But Steve, I appreciate the question. There's still other good funding options. And my follow-up question would be, have you looked at 7A, 504, other microloans, or SSBCI would be my follow-up question. And over 200K, a P&L, you may, Craig, good question. I believe they want to see it. Now, there may be a case where you can get away with not putting it in, or you have an abbreviated P&L. They just want a little bit of evidence. If you're saying my cash flow is tight, they want to see that. They're not looking for tax returns. They're not looking for your 4506T. Not yet, anyway. So, but you could try. If I would encourage you to include your P&L. It'll move things faster. Let me answer two more here, and then get to other SSBCI and other funding options. Richard asks, I'm a sole proprietor. I have the initial 6 months hardship reduction. I'm a cash negative position. Can I apply for additional hardship time frame? So, Richard, my follow-up would be, are you under 200K or over 200K? In any event, I would email disastercustomerservice@sba.gov. You saw in this example that the turnaround time was quickly. Just be sure to put in the subject line, hardship accommodation plan, explain your situation. If you want to talk with us about that, Richard, I don't know if you have if you have someone on our team you're working with, but yeah. So that's a good question. So I'll answer a few more here, and I do want to share something else here as well, which is, so the link in the description, I'll just share, I'll tell everyone right now. A lot of you, some of you have already enrolled in our SCIP course. So for all of you watching right now, it's free for you. So if you're not enrolled yet and you want to, you can email us concierge@helloskip.com. It's about, well, let me show you. We've got, if you like, anyway, I talk a lot on it, as I always do, but just to show you what's here, about starting your business, building your online presence, a lot of good tips here, getting funding ready. So some of the things that I've talked about, forming your entity, why a business plan is so important. That's a big one for any new funding, especially what I'm about to talk about. You need to have a business plan. If you don't have a business plan, Jules will harp on this in a minute, and she'll say, what? We should get you a business plan. And then getting funding, talk about different funding, under 50K, 50K to 500K, over 500K, talk about options there. And then also growing your business. So some of you have already watched this. Some of you haven't. If you want access to this, And I think it's around $1,000 for the public, but you all get it for free. You can email concierge@helloskip.com and we'll add you in there. So the third thing to talk about before we do more Q&A, and I can loop back to the screenshots in a second, is how to prepare for other funding. So the good news with SSBCI, and this is very related to EIDL, we have 2 blog posts. We'll add these to the description. Nearly every state now has been approved for the State Small Business Credit Initiative. This is $10 billion from the federal government. Different programs. These programs include venture capital, loan participation, loan guarantee, collateral support, and capital access programs. The main goal of this program is if you have a tough time getting capital elsewhere, you need $50K, $100K, $500K. This program is designed to help you, but they haven't made it easy. Maybe that's by design because they don't want, they want to make sure you're serious about it. We've been helping a lot of folks go through this. So if you're looking for more capital, let's say you take care of your EIDL funding, you lower your payments. Oh, I should have said this at the top. The first link in the description, helloskip.com/funding/EIDL hardship. You can track your lowering of payments. So I encourage you to do this. Many of you have seen these incredible changes our team's done here on the hardship accommodation. And so basically, if you track this, you can see this on your dashboard. And when you are approved, add that in as well. So any new funding, any new grants, any new tips, tax credits will always be here. So they're always on the dashboard. Back to SSBCI. Here are all the states in this spreadsheet here. You can find your state and see if it's approved, if it's accepting applications. Most states have been approved. Many states are accepting applications. And we have page state-specific details as well. So I'm not going to go into too much detail here, but if you are interested, you can let your client success manager know because we want to help you get this funding. And I just want to say, if you are thinking about this funding, SBA 7A and other programs, they'll look at a few things: credit, collateral, cash flow. So for credit, it's always good to, if you're working on your credit score, of course, we can help with that too. We do help people raise their credit score. Collateral, the second one here, it's more just depends the size of the loan you're looking for, but how much you're looking for. Can your business support it? And what's your plan? So in lieu of not having collateral, they'll want to see a business plan. In fact, everyone wants to see a business plan. So I encourage you to get that and projections done. And then the third one is cash flow. Obviously, they're going to want to look at your bank statements, your P&L. So you'll want to make sure that those are attractive. So just keep those in mind for new funding. EIDL, well, I know many of you had mixed experiences with the EIDL. Hopefully, most of you got some funding. Maybe you didn't get as much as you wanted to. But overall, working with any lender, whether it's the SBA, whether it's a private lender, CDFI, it can be a little bit of back and forth. That takes a while. So if there's any SSBCI questions, please ask. I see a couple in the comments, so I can get to those in a minute. So again, here is the application for hardship accommodation for over 200K. So this blog post is in the description. It explains kind of what I've outlined today. And there you have it. And upcoming webinars. Oh, just before I loop in Greg and Jules here. So tomorrow I'm doing 2 lives to keep in mind if you want to join. One is the final round of our March Madness $2,000 grants. So if you want to tune in for that, it's a lot of fun. Our goal was to bring awareness to entrepreneurs, businesses like yours. The second one we're doing at 1 p.m. PST, 4 p.m. EST tomorrow, which is how to do a video pitch for grant submissions. So if you are looking at grants, especially there's 2 due Friday that require like a 1-minute video, 2-minute video, I'm going to give some tips, practical tips on how to do a video pitch if you're willing to venture into that. And with that note, I do want to bring back in Jules and Mike, who've been looking at your questions, and I think we've got a lot of good ones here. But before we get to questions, Jules, do you want to share a little bit more about, for folks who want more help or want to go after more funding, how we can assist them?
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, everybody. We can assist you by getting you assigned to one of our client success managers, and we can help with a variety of things to include funding. So we can help you to locate appropriate and applicable funding through loans or grants. We can help with business plans. We can help with the growth support on the back end as far as, marketing, website, helping you to get your business structure. So anything that you need and you feel like you need that extra one-on-one support with a client success manager, we do have a couple of options as far as membership to help you with that. So definitely encourage you. I believe you can go to Talk to Skip and sign up, get a call scheduled with either myself or Mike, and we can kind of help walk you through what that process looks like.
Absolutely. And that's why so glad to have you here. Jules, as head of memberships, if you want to learn more about that, talktoskip.com. Many of you have heard me say that. And so that's absolutely it. If there's questions around that in the comments, people can leave them in here. Greg or Jules, did any of you see questions that I missed that we want to pick off here?
I think there's a good one here recently about approval for SSBCI, or we can talk about other funding if you are in hardship with EIDL.
Yeah, this is a great one. That doesn't necessarily need, they're not going to ask for that. When a lender evaluates you for new funding, they will want to look at your liabilities. And so they'll need to look at the full balance. Now, depending on how sophisticated the lender is, they may be looking at your current payments. So it may be a benefit. It depends on the lender. But they may say, oh, your current payments are $500. They may not look, well, what are your payments in 9 months? So, but most sophisticated lenders will want to take a holistic view and say, okay, your outstanding debt for EIDL is $500K. Let's do the... Greg, what's the terminology for the debt service coverage ratio? Yeah, so it doesn't necessarily preclude. It won't disqualify you from SSBCI.
And one quick point on that, but obviously every lender is a little bit different. Going through the SBA 7A process is going to be very different from going through a term loan process. One of the real benefits of having a client success manager with us is that our team is going to look at all options for you, help you decide which one is best and suits your business most accurately, and then help you with the application itself, any supporting documentation. So you're not on your own in picking which one might be best. That's something that we'll help you with.
Yeah, I'll give one common example that Jules is probably can back up as well. But this form right here. So we've talked with people who've hired lawyers. Now it depends how sophisticated your business is. But the example I just showed you was very quick, right? I showed you a very quick email, short statement. I think the rationale in that example was 2 sentences. A week later, the SBA replied and says, great, you're approved. So I just wanted to show that so you know that this is not an onerous process. But if you want a second opinion or third, or you want to talk through this, just because you've had nightmares about the SBA in the past, you don't want to mess up. This would be a great example of like, we could give you a second opinion. Right? Okay, yeah, that sounds good. Let me take a look at your P&L. Did you miss anything? Great. Looks good. Or do this. Send it to the SBA. And you can even copy us sometimes too if you want. People have done it in the past. So if you're like, I could really use to free up cash flow of 1K, 2K per month, even if temporarily, that'd be a reason to ask us for a second opinion. few more good questions. And if there's anything, again, all these links, including the course, SSBCI, webinars for tomorrow, I think we put them down below. But what are likely chances? Jacinda asked this question similar to a better tax service here. So what are likely chances of qualifying for additional funding help? Yeah, I mean, everyone's in a different situation. It's, there's funding out there. So there's also SBA microloans if you're looking for $50,000 or less, and they understand the situation people are in. So there are a lot of CDFIs. Jules, I don't know if you want to share more about like some of these lenders that will look at people who are struggling and be more favorable.
Yeah, I mean, we partner with a couple of different companies that do business lines of credit that have less than favorable credit scores, understanding the hardship that business owners have gone through with COVID. So there are different options that we can look at. It's not, we don't just have one or two. We'll look at the client as a whole, the business owner, and then start working to see what is going to be best for you. But
and these CDFIs in particular, many of them are nonprofits, so they are willing to go a little bit more above and beyond in order to find a way to approve clients for funding through them. So that's a good option that we oftentimes like to look at if other options aren't particularly a good fit.
Absolutely. Let's do the questions lightning round here, because I know we're over time here. So what if payments are past due? You can still get approved for this. So Carolyn, great question. You can still get approved. That, like I said at the top, the SBA really wants to work with folks. What they want to avoid is default and bankruptcy. We know what's happening with the economy, with banks. They want to avoid that. So if they're saying, look, just pay a little bit, pay what you can, basically, is their mantra without explicitly saying that. And also the SBA never publicly announces hardship accommodation. So the SBA director told me, hey, Ryder, I'll come on and talk about it, but we're not going to, they didn't issue a press release. So it's like, if you know about it, you're all in the know is my long-winded way of saying that. Okay. Sabine, yeah. Our payment has already started from last year. We're paying $2,500. So we'll still be able to apply for this hardship? Yes. You will be able to still apply. If you have questions about it, let us know. Even if you started payments, you can change them. I showed you that example on the screenshots from $4,900 to $490. 6 months cash negative. Oh, okay. We already saw this one from Richard. Were there any others? Can we still get an increase? No, maybe I'll scan at the top here. But these are all great questions. And if there's any final questions here or any follow-ups that you think of after this recording is going to live on the dashboard as I showed you here. You can see all these. This recording right now, this live recording is right here. Oh, I'm not sharing my screen. Is right here. You can see right here. So Greg or Jules, anything to add for folks before we sign off?
Yeah, no, just if you have questions about how we can additionally help you, please, go to the talktoskip.com and you can have a conversation with myself or Mike, and we can see if you're a good fit for a different level of membership. So we'll recommend what's going to be best for you.
And the one thing I would like to add is, since everyone on this call is a member, when you go into the Skip app on your phone, you'll be able to see every single funding opportunity that we've highlighted as well. So if you're sitting here thinking, I want to explore some of the opportunities and see what's available for my business, that's a great way to do that. You may need to update your app if you haven't used it in a while, if you had downloaded the Skip app previously. But if you haven't yet, just search for Hello Skip in the App Store and you'll find it there. And then make sure to log into your account so you have full access to all the funding opportunities that we share. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, a lot of grants do. If you're looking for grants, Women's History Month is ending Friday, so there's about 3 due tomorrow and Friday. You'll see all these on the dashboard. always love your feedback. If you have questions, thoughts, now you know who to contact. You can email us, hello@helloskip.com. You know who to ask for. Greg, no. But we're here to help you. So don't hesitate to reach out. Let me take one more question here. So this is a good one. We didn't talk. If your EIDL payments aren't due yet, can you take advantage of this? So, no, not yet. So they basically say, young kicks, you've got time. Don't worry about it for now. Come back in whenever that is, end of the year, in November, December. You could start to apply in November to get approved for it. So you've got time. So it's basically within 60 days, you can apply for the hardship accommodation. So hopefully that's helpful. 4 million businesses across the U.S. Received EIDL loans. And I think a lot of them are in difficult cash flow situations. So if you tell them, yeah, you could save $20,000, kick the can basically to 2050, people might say, let me kick the can to 2050, take my chances that I hit the lottery. No, but as always, if you want to tell others, give them a heads up. I'm sure they'll appreciate it. But thanks so much for everyone who tuned in. And I hope to see many of you tomorrow, either on our 12 p.m. Pacific $2K $2,000 grant winner, or our 1 p.m. Pacific video pitch for grants. And if you want to talk to Jules, Mike, or some of our other colleagues, talk to skip.com. Or if you have questions, you can also contact your client success manager directly about grants. And right, if you already have someone that you're working with, chat with them. And all right, on behalf of Jules and Greg, thanks everyone for tuning in. And we'll see you next time. Anytime questions come up, links are in the description. So we'll see you soon. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.